Hey guys, Akil Stokes here. Welcome back to another video episode of the Trading Coach Podcast. Make sure you head over to Spotify or YouTube to check it out. Also, speaking of videos, I recently did a little Spotify rap thing and it informed me that the Trading Coach Podcast, yes, this podcast, finished in the top 10% of all videos on Spotify. So, yeah. Hats off for you guys for making that happen. Keep it up and maybe we can do a little bit better next year. Now, today I'm going to answer a very common question, but surprisingly enough, I've never actually answered this question on a show. And the question is, Akil, how many monitors does a trader need? Now, there's a long time running joke in the trading industry when anyone that asked that question received the answer of one more, right? We can always use one more monitor as a trader. And although that may or may not be true, if that were the only answer I were to give you, this would be a very short podcast and that wouldn't help improve the video rankings, right? So instead, I'm going to actually give you a well thought out and developed answer that will help you address that question for your personal situation as a trader. Boring stuff, right? Anyway, so what we're going to cover today is going to be the following, if I can remember to get through it all. But we're going to talk about the personal side of the decision. We're going to talk about the business side of the decision. We're going to talk about whether or not you need to be a screen space junkie, right? How many apps do you need open? Is a big screen TV a plausible solution? Does size matter? Yes. But in trading, certainly yes. And of course, give you a few warnings that will hopefully help keep you out of trouble, because one of the reasons I started this show is to inform you of all the dumb things that I did so that you don't have to do as many of the dumb things. You're welcome. Now, before we hop in, you guys have seen me share this before. I do have a relationship with a good friend of mine, Eddie Z from EasyTradingComputers.com. I had him build both of my trading computers for me, and I've been extremely happy with the results both times. So if you want more information on trading computers, not just monitors, but all of the weird stuff that goes underneath the hood, I recommend downloading this free, yes, 100% free, Trading Computer Buyers/Builders Guide. It's what I use to inform myself of the things that I thought I should know when deciding on a trading computer, and I want to give that to you as well. There should be a QR code on the screen if you're watching this, along with random QR codes probably on the bottom of the screen as I do the edit. If you're not watching, just follow the link in the description below, and if you do end up buying a trading computer from them, I do think you get some sort of discount. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm sure it will tell you that if you do. So, yeah. So, let's hop in. We're going to start with the personal decision. And first things first, regardless of everything I cover and anything I say in today's video, understand that just like trading, right? There is no single correct answer, especially when it comes to how many monitors a trader needs. I'm going to try my best to give you some please don'ts. I'm going to try my best to give you some must-haves, but ultimately you need to use the information that I give you today to kind of find out what you feel you need, not just as a starting point as a trader, but where you feel you'll need to go as you develop your trading skills and your trading business as well. So just keep that in mind as we go through each section. So that's the personal side of things. Let's go to the business-based decision next. And broken record alert, right? You've heard me say this before, and you've probably heard many other traders or coaches say this as well, although I don't actually know because I selfishly don't listen to anyone but myself and Jason Greystone. But what we always say, at least at Tier 1 Trading, is treat your trading like a business. And when we say that, we're usually talking about the mental side, right? So creating a trading schedule, having a routine, journaling and tracking data, having a scaling of your account or a personal payment plan. So like, how are you going to grow your account? How are you going to pay yourself for the effort that you put into your trading? Continued education, or how are you going to be sure that you continue to improve and not get stagnant or stale and get overtaken by the market? Things like that. But another part of treating your trading like a business is also investing in the right equipment. Now, luckily, and this is the best thing about trading, is that it is one of, if not the cheapest startups out there. But that also doesn't mean that you need to be super cheap, and it's certainly not free. You still need a few things, right? You're gonna need a fast, reliable internet connection, right? So don't get cheap on your connection. The market moves fast. Orders need to be executed fast. If you have something that is slow, you're going to lag and you could potentially pay the price for that. You're also going to need a quality trading platform. Now, I did a podcast on this not too long ago where we were walking through TradingView and the features that they have, and we talked about kind of the really, really cheap trading platforms that are free but kind of stink, or the really, really expensive ones that have all these bells and whistles but cost an arm and a leg for things that you don't actually use, and how as a trader you want to kind of make that personal decision of finding that middle ground where you're not paying $1 million, right? You're not giving up all your trading profits to pay for your platform, but you also have something that is usable and is able to do all the things that you need for it to do. Speaking of cheap, and I know I mentioned earlier that although this is a personal decision, there are some non-negotiables that I believe in. Well, one of those non-negotiables is, because I always get this question, Akil, do I need monitors or a computer at all? Can I just trade from my phone? No, you can't. I mean, well, technically you can, but you shouldn't. And I'll just put it this way, right? I've been trading for almost 20 years now. I've been able to speak to and have relationships with some of the greatest minds in this industry. And I can honestly say that not a single one of them trades from their phone or would recommend you trading from your phone. So if the greats, the people that you aspire to be, say it's a big no, you should probably say no. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that you can't use your phone. A phone is good, and a phone app is good for tracking something if you're not in the office. But as far as doing your main analysis, it is going to be very difficult and very inefficient to do so. And trust me when I say that the amount of money that you will lose trying to trade off your phone is a lot more than what it would cost you just to buy a dang computer and some monitors. So if you're gonna do it, insert Liam Neeson voice, good luck. So speaking of monitors, let's kind of dive into that subject because that's what we're talking about. I got distracted by the other stuff. But one of the main questions you want to ask when deciding how many monitors do you need is, are you a space junkie? Space junkie? No. Screen space junkie. There we go. And what that means is, do you like having everything open at once so that you don't forget anything that you're looking at? And you don't have to constantly like click around and close tabs and open this and open that? Or are you okay playing kind of hide and go seek with the market? Personally speaking, I would not call myself a full screen space junkie, but I've definitely noticed the difference when I'm traveling and I go from my normal 4-screen setup to my 2-screen setup, right? Because I can't see everything at once, and this is mainly talking about charts, but I'll get into a little bit later all the other things we need to have up aside from our charts. When I'm on the road and I have my 2 monitors set up, I end up constantly opening and closing and opening and closing and moving this to there, moving that to there. And when I was day trading particularly, it made it very, very, very difficult to kind of keep track of everything, but it also made me less efficient. And I even missed a few trades because of that. Most of all, though, it was just annoying, right? And I know this may sound weird, but as traders, we do kind of enter this flow state. So your trading flow does matter, right? As a day trader, on hot days, I kind of felt like Steph Curry in the zone where once I was in it, I didn't want to get knocked out of it. But every time I had to open something to see something, then close it back down to see something else and move that over here and forget where it was at, it knocked me out of that flow state. It reminds me when I was a younger trader and, I guess I was a younger trader too, but when my kids were younger and they didn't understand boundaries, not that they understand boundaries now. My youngest is going around farting on everyone because he's at that funny fart stage, which I guess as adults we never really grow out of. But anyway, I remember being locked in my room doing day trading, so like trading that actually requires my full attention. And I remember like every hour or so a kid would barge in like, "Daddy, come play!" And I'd have to like get away from my charts and explain to him like, even though I'm home, Daddy is still working, I can't play right now, or Daddy, I spilled something, or I broke something, or just like a random screen. I'm like, oh, there he goes, right? And that back and forth really kind of interrupted my trading. So I know it's not the same not having enough monitors, but trust me, it is really similar when you kind of get knocked out of your groove over and over in a repeated fashion, and that can certainly play a part in your results. Now, many of you guys are probably saying to yourself, well, why do I need that many screens? Why are you clicking and opening and closing all types of things? Don't I just need a chart? Well, maybe yes, maybe no. Again, this is going to be a personal decision. This is going to be where you, depending on where you lie on that screen space junkie scale. But I want to walk through a few things that you may consider having up during your active trading day. One that may seem pretty obvious are price charts. Yes, you probably want to have price charts up on your screen. It could be a single screen, it could be multiple screens, right? All depending on what you trade, how you trade, what you want to see. You may need an account center open to monitor your open position. So I know with me personally on NinjaTrader, there's it's called the account center. It's like I don't know, like a hub that tells me everything. So it's a hub that has my pending orders, my current orders, my P&L, my this, my that. It's a chance for me to kind of track everything that's going on. Another one would be news sources, right? We had a good conversation today about the random non-farm payroll that came out on a Tuesday and how many traders weren't aware of that. Well, if you're someone that either trades news or uses news to decide when to trade, when not to trade, or just likes paying attention to it, you may need a dedicated news feed up, whether it's an economic calendar or whether it's an actual feed where headlines are coming across. That way you can pay attention to what's happening in the markets. Screeners are another one. I don't personally use market screeners, but especially for you guys in the stock market or you guys trading mechanical systems, you may have a screener up, and that's what you're using to kind of pick what you're going to look at for the day. I did have something like that in the past, but I would always do that in my pre-market analysis, so it didn't necessarily have to be up during my trading day, but that is something that many traders keep up during their trading hours. Another one is a trade log or a trade journal, right? Again, this is one that may not need to be up during your active trading day. I personally don't load it up until afterwards, but if you're doing day trading and you know that you're going to forget or you don't have time to do it later, you may have your journal, your trade log up. That way, as soon as you're in a position, you can enter it, you can take your notes and get it out the way before you forget about it. Another one is going to be your chat forums. Now, in general, I am fully against chat forums. I guess general public chat forums. If you have like a private chat forum, that is something different. So we have one over on Tier 1 Trading that I always have up on the screen. During a live session, we have a live chat on that I always have up on the screen. Many of our traders have accountability partners, right? That means while they're doing their active trading day or even their analysis day, they have like a Slack up or something like that with their accountability partners where they're sharing ideas and talking about whatever you need to talk about, right? So that is something else that you may want to have on your screen at all times. And the last, and don't judge me for this, entertainment. Now there's a time and a place for entertainment, and we'll get into that a little bit later, but yeah, there is usually something entertaining on my screen, and I promise there's a reason for that. So what is my personal setup? Well, for my trading, my ideal asterisk setup is a 3-monitor setup. But I personally use a 4-monitor setup because of coaching, right? So if I was trading only, 3 monitors would be enough. But because I am coaching, I have graduated to 4. Or I shouldn't say graduated, I actually kind of downgraded. But that is my sweet spot, right? So back when I was day trading, here's how I kind of had my thing set up, right? I had 2 screens dedicated to the charts, right? When I day traded, I looked at 6 pairs total, but it was only allowed to trade 4 pairs at a time. So what I would have is I would have one monitor with all of my pairs there, and they'd be organized so they're neatly and tidily stacked on top of each other. And then I would have one monitor with the pair that I was fully dedicated to, right? So as something comes to a level that I'm interested in, I would take it from here, I would move it to here, and it would have my full attention for when I need to actively trade it. And then once I'm in the trade, I would move it back and then kind of find the next one. So it was kind of like whatever the main pair I was watching would get the full screen, the rest would share. So that takes up 2 monitors right there. The third screen monitor was going to be my Tier 1 trading chat. Like I said, I have that chat open all the time, whether it's the live trading room chat where I'm actually actively live streaming, right? So I need to engage with the people that I'm talking to and answer questions, or just the Tier 1 trading chat in general, because if you didn't pay attention to the title of the podcast, I am a trading coach, and people ask lots of questions throughout the day, and it is my job to answer it for them or get into random conversations about the new hit show, The Beast in Me, which is really, 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 really good. And I'm excited for tonight where me and my wife get to watch another episode if I survive the thing that I said in yesterday's video. Yeah, I'm very scared. Anyway, my fourth screen, right, that was kind of my freebie screen, right? That was for, at a certain point in time, the news events, whether it's the live feed of the news events or just the economic calendar to see what's coming out. That was for alternative charts. So you guys know I like to dance on the range bar charts, right? So if I'm looking at a certain pair on my main screen, I want an alternative view. I may look at it on a range bar chart as well, just to make that comparison. I work better when I can see both at the same time instead of clicking up, clicking down and stuff like that. Or if I weren't live streaming and it was just a regular trading day, just me and myself, that would be my entertainment screen. So I'd have something up there. It would be a podcast that I'm listening to. It'd be a, probably some sports show or something about space that I'm watching. Just something to kind of get me through the day. Because again, unlike popular belief or unlike the myth that is out there, as we're trading, we're not actually trading all of the time, even when day trading. So there is this downtime, and instead of just sitting and staring at charts for 3 hours and tempting yourself to do stuff that you probably shouldn't be doing, it's better just to kind of watch something until the candle closes, reevaluate, and then continue watching it. Trust me, it sounds weird, but the more you stare at charts, the more mistakes you're likely to make. The more mistakes you're likely to make, the more money you're going to lose. That's why it's the whole time versus money myth, where a lot of new traders think, if I just trade more hours, I'll make more money. Theoretically, yes, but in reality, no. Now, swing trading was a little bit different. Day trading is the lower time frame, swing trading is the higher time frame. So the time frames that don't require as much attention. So same thing, I had two screens dedicated to charts, but it was a little bit different. Instead of having kind of a main screen and everything on the side screen, because I traded more pairs in my swing trading, I looked at 12 at the time and then 9 now. 12 and 9 are a little bit too much to have kind of crunched up on a single screen. So I like to break them into two. I'll do like a 5 on one, 4 on the other, or something like that. Tier 1 trading chat is still up. That is always up. It's a dedicated space for that, right? So that puts us at 3 monitors right now. And then once again, the fourth monitor is going to be for entertainment or any of the other stuff that I mentioned before. Now, when we come to backtesting, right, this is where the multiple monitor setup really shines. During the backtesting phase, which is the phase where we're going through historical data, we're testing it, we're tracking it, we're marking down observations, all that fun stuff, yay, right? I had 2 screens for charts. Now, the reason I had 2 screens for individual charts is because I was a higher time frame trader. So I use multiple time frame analysis, which means I do my identification, I do my predictions off the higher time frames, and then I decide and I execute, right, actually get in the trades for my lower time frames. So I found it very difficult as a younger trader when I was trying to do higher time frame analysis or multi-time frame analysis off of a single monitor, because I would have one chart up, and then I have to click that chart down, and I load another chart up, and I have to find where that was at, and then I have to put that down if I had a question. Oh, was it a higher high? Okay, then go back up to the other chart, and it was a whole thing, and it probably added hours, if not days, to my testing. So what I like to do in my testing is I like to have 2 charts up at the same time, one higher, one trading time frame, and what I do is I link them, right? So that means when I scroll on one chart, the other one follows. So it's no longer kind of like a guessing game of where I'm at or playing catch up. It just scrolls along with it. But again, just having that perspective and kind of eliminating that gap of open screen, closed screen search, open screen, closed screen search, it makes me much more productive and much more efficient in my testing. The third screen is going to be my backtesting spreadsheet, right? Backtesting includes data collection. So you're looking for trades, you're taking trades, and you're typing it into your spreadsheet, and you're looking for trades, you're taking trades, you're typing it into your spreadsheet, right? Again, it is a hassle when you're looking for trades and you're like, okay, entry was at 139.44, close screen, open screen, entry 139.44, close screen, open screen, exit 148.53, close screen, open screen, exit 148.53, close screen, open screen. And you're doing this for target twos, you're doing this for multiple stop losses, you're doing this for CTS score, right? It's a lot of opening and closing in it, and it takes like tracking a single trade like at half an hour to do. And if you're going through thousands and thousands of trades, that's a lot of half an hours to take into account. So by having everything up at once, I can easily just have my data log, my backtesting log over there, and just look at it and go da 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 da, and I'm done. And then again, fourth screen, freebie, Netflix. Backtesting is boring. I like having something cool on in the background. However, I would tell you this, if you're going to listen to something in the background during your backtesting, make sure it's not like a movie or a show that you really want to watch. Make sure it's nothing action-packed, right? You want something that can be listened to in the background, but you don't get sucked into like actually watching it. So I think of something like Severance, for example, really, really slow moving. Like if I have to get distracted by a chart for like 3 minutes, I didn't really miss anything. Versus like if you're watching John Wick, you're not going to be able to look away. Now, another common question I get is this: Akil, what if, because I see this online all the time, if you ever watch Jason Graystone's videos, he's got one of these as well. What if instead of multiple monitors, I just get one big TV screen? Ha ha! No. I don't recommend it, right? Understand that TV screens are different than monitors, right? TV screens are created to be viewed like further back. If you're watching a TV, you're supposed to be at least like 6 feet back. And I say that because the way like pixels and stuff work is that TV screens have bigger pixels, computer monitors have smaller pixels. And what that means is that the closer you get to a TV screen, the grittier and less attractive the picture actually looks because those pixels are bigger, right? Computer monitors, they have smaller pixels, so we can view them from this close and it still looks fine. As someone who is a technical analyst, who is a chartist, trust me when I say that if you are trying to analyze the chart and you got like little choppy pixels getting in the way of your analysis, you can miss some very important clues. There's also eye strain as well. Now, another common question, I'm getting this from the notes that people who kind of brought this to my attention, is what size monitor should I get? And if us as Americans, there's a flag somewhere up there, have taught you anything, it's that bigger isn't always better. And the same goes for trading. So once you get past about 27 inches in your monitor, you're going to find yourself in a really weird position. Not only are you going to have like a monster of a setup, which can be really intimidating, but you no longer have the ability to kind of track everything from the same location. So the goal is always this, I would say, like as a trader, if you centered yourself in front of your system and just kept your head forward, you should be able to see the far end of all of your monitors, left, right, up, down, without moving your head, right? That allows you to kind of scan and look at everything that you need to look at once. If you have a big monitor setup and you've got a big monitor over there or a big monitor over there or one up here, and I've done this in the past, you find yourself often doing this where you're here, you're here, you're here, you're here, you're here, you're here, you're here. And bigger picture, that is going to cause a lot of issues. It's going to cause a lot of neck issues. It's going to cause back spasm and just kind of like poor desk posture in general. Now, I know what you guys are saying, especially you youngsters out there. That doesn't matter. I feel great. Trust me, I was 21 when I started trading and I felt great. I am 40 now and I deal with a lot of neck issues and back spasms. Now, a lot of it comes from playing an American sport where small people like me are aggressively chased by big people and they try to hit you as hard as they can. And I did do that for 12 years, but I honestly think, right, aside from like the crooked spine that I have, at least that's what the chiropractors and the x-rays say, most of my issues came from poor posture. When I first started trading, I quit 3 jobs. I invested like 18 hours a day into trading, and I sat at a desk like this the whole time, or I sat at a desk like this the whole time. And when you do that repeatedly over and over and over again, your body adjusts, it does not like it, and weird things start to happen. So imagine yourself in a situation where for however many hours a day, you're constantly doing this. You're gonna throw your body out of whack, and it's just not good for your livelihood. Now let's talk about growing into your ideal setup, because despite the joke that says how many trading monitors does a trader need, and the answer is 1 more, I've seen traders who have gotten to trading, they're all excited, right? It's like, one of the most enjoyable moments of trading is like buying your setup. It makes it feel real, like you're learning stuff is starting to click, and all of a sudden like you start buying everything and you feel fired up. It's the same thing like, when you start a new business and the first thing you buy is like polos with your company logo on it. We've made that mistake before, and it's like, yeah, look at that. I've got a company logo, and it's like, I don't really need one for anything, but you feel excited because it makes it real. Well, I've seen traders do that, and they've got these massive setups, like 8 monitors, and what happens is when they're looking at these super beasts in front of them, they end up both overwhelmed and they end up intimidated. Now, I never had an 8 trade setup. The most I've ever done is 6, but even with that, I felt overwhelmed, and I also had a few questions. One of the main questions is, what am I gonna do with all those extra monitors, right? I kind of told you the layout that I have and what I use each thing for, right? I already have one for entertainment, my freebie. With a 6 monitor setup, I've got 2 extra monitors that don't really serve a purpose. And what happens when they don't serve a purpose, you just don't leave it blank, you kind of fill it with something, and that can become a distraction. For me, it was fantasy sports, so I'd have like a fantasy page up where I'd end up like getting distracted from my charts and doing research on fantasy football for the weekend's games. Anyway, when I went through that stage of mine where I was really focused on becoming more efficient and more productive, I decided to scale back because it just wasn't a proper use of space, and it was even slowing down my computer system. So to wrap things up, I would say this: at bare minimum, have at least 1 monitor, right? Anything is better than trying to trade off your phone. But I would say a 2 monitor setup is a good starting point for most traders. It allows you to have either 2 screens up at once, higher and lower time frame. It allows you to have either a chart up and a chat up, or a chart up and a backtesting data sheet up. It gives you enough to kind of do what you need to do with ease. However, I would say that the ideal setup would probably be 3, just because it gives you that extra monitor just for any of those freebie things that I mentioned earlier. Now, with that being said, I would love to hear what your ideal trading setup is. I did a poll question earlier on YouTube and Instagram, and just looking at the YouTube one right here, 40% said 2, 30% said 1, 25% said 3, and 5% said 4 or more, aka as many as I can get. But I would love to hear in the comments section below, what do you think the ideal setup is for you and why? Meaning, what do you require in your trading? I think it's a good place to give traders ideas, especially newer traders who haven't experienced this yet. And hopefully you can use that to make a more informed decision about what you want your starting point to be. Speaking of starting points, once again, a great starting point for learning about trading computers in general, monitors, and everything else is this free, easy trading computer builders and buyers guide. Again, just scan the QR code, click the link in the description, do whatever you need to. It is a free resource. I've personally used it twice to educate myself, and I gift it to you for free, right? It's just to help you with your trading, so please take advantage of it. All right, that's the show. Gotta go. Until next time, plan your trade, trade your plan. Take care.